welcome back to my playthrough of Darkest Night, the second edition. I did some minor progress doing turn 2 and 3 basically, so I was able to find 3 of those clues here. So keep in mind we need 10 of those in order to trade them in to discover one of those holy relics here. And here where, let's say, or I faced some errors in the rules I received, because my version of the beta rules clearly say when you draw this blue symbol here you gain 3 clues, and the red one would have you draw a mystery card. But Jeremy Leonard, and I really don't know when this guy ever sleeps, told me it's the other way around. And when you look at the iconography here, it really makes sense, because on the blue one here you see the same symbol or a book symbol, which really helps you, reminding you of those mystery cards here. I will not go back and revert this, but I will play it now play it correct as of now, and yeah, hopefully you are okay with that as well. And Jeremy found another little mistake I did. I was basically interpreting this devotion card here, which says gain 2 grace immediately. That was perfectly fine, but somehow I seem to really have bumped this one, because he really stated correct that the Crusader starts with 5 grace, and I pushed it out until 8, and when I checked the recording back, it was some point in time just on this 6 here, which is of course wrong. Well, this is something I will definitely correct here. So the Crusader is only at 2 grace and 2 secrecy, so this is really something I have to take care of doing the one of the next 2 or 3 turns or so. And the idea is really to move the Crusader to the monastery slowly but steady, and maybe also the Ranger, because of the communion card that the Crusader just gained here, which says he gains also 1 grace if another character in my location gains 1 grace. So this is something I should keep in mind, but I think I will not move the Crusader, whatever, for his 2 activations into the monastery. I'm really thinking of moving here to the forest, maybe try to defeat the Dark Fog here, and then as of the next turn move him into the monastery. And for the Ranger, I'm not really quite sure what I want to do, to be honest, because on the one hand we really have to get rid of some of those blights here. Problem really is we have this confusion which prohibits you to gain tactic cards, and then we have the corruption which also prohibits you to use any bonuses, and those spies on top also make you lose a secrecy each turn, and when you start the turn with the necromancy you lose 1 more. So this is really a tough nut to crack, and I'm kind of thinking really praying with a Ranger in order to get a spark, then move here to the village and try to take out one of those, maybe really start with a confusion blight here. But I think I will start with the Crusader here, so let's draw ourselves our event for this activation. Ooh, and this seems to be a tough one. Host of Horns. Compared to secrecy right now he's at 2, so we have to look in here, and wow, this is really, wow, it's 6 for fighting and 6 for eluding, and if I fail I lose 1 additional grace. Wow, this is really tough. I'm out of sparks. Of course I could still use my Wrath tactic card, but I really wanted to use the Wrath in order to fight the Dark Fog here. Wow, this is really tough. I really have to think about this for a second. The problem is that my Wrath power card also requires 1 grace to spend, and then it's activated, so I cannot use it right away due to this two-player dual class rules here. So I think in this case I will just try to fight those Host of Hounds with just 1 die. I still have my tap power bonus card, which I will be able to leverage, so I can basically exhaust any number of my powers, and then I think this would be the best chance I have right now. As I'm just watching the cool playthrough by Cat Weasel of Arkham Horror with the Innsmouth Horror expansion, I decided to leverage my old dice tower here as well. I think it really is kind of handy, because you're not bumping any miniatures or whatnot. You can just drop them here and really hope for results. So basically we are looking for a 6 in order not to lose any grace. Again, I can use my tap power. Maybe I will do that once or twice, but then I will basically live with the result, and maybe I have to get to the monastery sooner than I originally thought. So let's give it a try. Oh, that's a 3. Okay, I will use my tap power bonus, which really lets me, after a fight wall, exhaust any of your powers, including this, to add 1 die to the roll. And I think this is what I will do. And I'm pretty sure I will go with devotion. So this is now exhausted, so I can roll another die. Okay, let me see. That's another 3. Unbelievable. Maybe I will do that one more time, and I'm really hoping I'm playing this power right, the tap power, so that I can really decide die roll by die roll. But I think it really clearly says add 1 die to the roll. You may do this repeatedly. So yeah, I think I'm playing this right. So let's do this one more time, and I think this time I will go for the communion power. So let's roll again. Ah, that's a 4. We are coming closer, but not good enough. So I think I will do that one last time, so I can also deactivate or exhaust this card here. And now let's roll the very last roll. Maybe I should go for the Providence instead, because I also don't need it and have to go back to the monastery anyway. So why not? So let's also exhaust the Providence card. Keep in mind the action stays where it is. Okay, let's roll again. 5 again, coming closer. And now really, last but not least, I will exhaust the tap power itself. And I think this will really be my last roll. Let's see. It's again a 5. So again, was really a close call, but I think I will stop now. I want to keep the wrath. I want to keep the right, the ether. We really don't know what will await us here. So yeah, let's remove the dice tower. Let's remove the card. And now we would have to lose 1 grace. Keep in mind, it does not say you gain a wound. It really says lose grace. So if I would be already on 0 grace here, and one effect told me to lose 1 grace and I don't have 1 grace, then nothing bad will happen. It's only really when you see this little skull symbol and you are at 0 grace, then you would have to take a wound. And if you cannot lose any more grace voluntarily, then you're actually dying and this hero would be out of the game. For his action, the Crusader will move here to the forest. Therefore, he gains 1 secrecy, which isn't a bad thing. And this blight doesn't have any real end of round effect. It just says it's a +2 search difficulty. It's foggy after all, and you see that here kind of on the artwork, really very thematic, fitting things. So in order to find something in the forest right now, you have to roll a 6. One thing I nearly forgot, because I did a normal action, so basically just traveling, I can remove the secrecy token here. So even though this one is exhausted right now, I might be able to leverage this Providence actions once I refresh this power. Then it's the Ranger. He's still in the mountains, so there's not much we can do. We have to draw ourselves an event card. And here we have the Deterioration. Add a time marker to every quest in play. As you're aware, there are no quests in play. And there's also an event in the case of that scenario. If there are no quests in play, draw a quest and roll 1 die to determine its location. So it's finally time to draw our first quest card. Awesome. And here we have the Angry Guardian. Someone stole a treasure from the care of a local guardian spirit. Give it a new treasure to placate it. Okay, this is basically a tough one, because you have to discard 1 item to gain 1 of those success tokens, and you only need 1 success token in order to fulfill or complete this quest. We have 4 turns in order to finish it, or 4 rounds in order to finish it, and if we are completing it, all heroes gain 1 grace, and if it expires, then 1 hero loses a turn. Overall, not that bad of a result, and also not really let's say a very cool reward. Of course, grace is always helpful, especially in this two-player dual class variant. I really have to confess that, so it's really worth thinking about it. But first of all, let's determine. And therefore, we roll a die and take it here from the village. If it's a 6, the quest will be here in the village. The 1 says it will go to the mountains. I think you get the idea. Let's roll the die. That's a 3. And a 3 means we have to place this quest here into the forest. That's kind of okay, I guess. But right now we don't have any items which we could spend. So an item could be, for example, one of those treasure chests here, for example. Yeah, but right now we don't have one, so it's not really worth thinking about it. Then we do a meditate action for the ranger, which would give him one of those spark tokens, which is really important. This was pretty much his entire turn. But before something really bad happens to our crusader, I think we really have to move him back to the monastery. I think there's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately, because he's down to 1 grace. I think he will be able to deal with one of those events for now, which is okay. But let's just say whatever, there is an event and the necromancer moves down and another bad blight goes there, whatnot. I think the risk is too high. I really have to move him back to the monastery, but still we have to deal with one event here, of course. And here we have to face a deadly demon. It's deadly because my secrecy is still at 3. So yeah, I think there's really not much I can do. I really don't want to spend 1 grace because overall I will lose 1 grace anyway. So I think let's just roll the die and hope for a 4 or more. Yes, this time we roll a 6. Man, where have you been the last round? But at least we are not losing any more grace, and I think this is a good thing already. So I guess let's move him back to the monastery. Nothing bad can happen there. And for this move, of course, he gains 1 secrecy back. And then it's back to the ranger. Yeah, first of all, let's see what awaits us. And here we have the close call. Roll 1 die and take the highest. 5 or 6, no effect, lose 1 secrecy. This time I will be able to use my balance ability, so I will be allowed, not the black one, of course, that's bad luck. Will be allowed to roll 2 dice instead of only 1. So let's see what we roll. That's a 4. Unfortunately, we would lose 1 point of secrecy. Originally, I was really thinking to move the ranger down to the village and really try to deal with the confusion here. Maybe really do meditate 1 more time in order to gain an additional spark. Then the chances wouldn't be that bad to get rid of the confusion. And then he would be able to use tactic cards again and maybe try to take out the corruption blight. But I think I will move the ranger back to the monastery in order to support the crusader with his communion power in order to maximize his grace gain, because this is really the resource he needs the most. And it really again might sound boring, but I think this is what I will have to do. So I will move the ranger back to the monastery and therefore he gains 1 secrecy at least. Okie dokie, then it's the necromancer's turn. Let's advance the darkness track. Let's add 1 timer token to this quest here. Right now we are good. Only when there are 4 or more on this angry guardian would we lose this one here, or this would expire and 1 here would lose a turn. Could be a pretty nasty thing, but right now that's still okay, I guess. Then it's the necromancer's turn. He cannot find us, but we still roll for his movement, so the necromancer can never ever go to the monastery and he will not find us there. So we will just see where he gets. That's a 5, which means the necromancer will move back to the swarm, which is kind of a good thing because right now there aren't any blights. But of course we will create a blight, and let me think for a second if I want to use the map card of the ranger. And I voted against that because we would create another confusion blight here, and again we would have another area where we wouldn't be allowed to use any tactic cards, and this is something I definitely don't want to do. So let's just draw a map card, and here the swarm we have to create those shades. So those are the shades. Okie dokie, we have to start with the crusader because course, he wants to refresh, or he has to refresh all his powers in order to leverage the communion bonus. Of course, we must not forget that. We are not drawing any event cards in the monastery, such a safe harbor basically. So let's just roll his 2 prey dice. For every 3 or more he gains 1 grace. Let's see, perfect, that's a 3 and a 4. Therefore we can give him 2 grace, which is great. Let's also refresh all his powers. Takes a second, sorry for that. Okay, and the communion is also active right now. So this was the first activation. Don't forget to flip his token. And then I think we have to continue with the Cruise Ranger. Yeah, because now we want to leverage his communion here, of course. This means that the Ranger will also pray. Perfect. These are also 2 points worth of grace. But unfortunately, you can only gain up to your default grace, but that's okay. And because of the communion power of the Crusader, he also gains 1 grace more. I think this is already a very cool thing. And now I really have to think about what I want to do next, because I think the Ranger is pretty much through here. He spends his entire turn at the monastery. You gain 1 secrecy up to default. Default value is great, so we must not forget to do that here accordingly. This was his entire turn, and I think the same is true for the Crusader. No, his default secrecy is only a 4, so he stays where he is. And I think for his second activation, the Ranger will move back to the village here. He still has its blood ring, which brings him +1 in fights. It's neither a bonus or a tactic, so he gets this bonus anyway. He still has that spark, so he should be really okay to get rid of that confusion blight here. I'm pretty sure I forgot the blood ring at least once doing this video alone. I have to see that in post, but this is pretty much it. He would gain 1 secrecy, unfortunately only up to 5. Right now he's at 6, but as he's at the same location as the spies at the end of his turn, he would lose 1 secrecy, which would bring him back down to 5. I think the Crusader has to stay in the safe, or behind the safe walls of the monastery. He needs his grace, so let's have him pray again. Yeah, that's a 4, enough to bring him back to his default grace of 5. Awesome. This was a pretty quick turn, so let's increase the darkness. Let's add 1 of those timer tokens to our one and only quest down there. Then let's do the hunt roll for the Necromancer. Let's see, that's a 2, so he's not able to find us, so he will just follow his arrows, and unfortunately he will move back to the village. So again, the Ranger will lose a lot of secrecy during the next turn. Wow, this is really crap, but there's nothing I can do about it. No, he will just get there, and this also means he will create an additional blight here. Let's see, what do we want to see? No, that's another set of spies in the village. We don't want to do that. So let's just draw a map card for the Necromancer. And here at the village, we will place an Oblivion Blight. And that's a real nasty one. Exhaust 1 power each turn. This is really crap. Wow, the village is really a tough place to be. But yeah, I have to start getting rid of blights there, because the next blight who would be created at the village would be sent immediately to the monastery. Phew, tough one. I think I will start the next round with the Ranger here at the village. He will lose 1 secrecy because the Necromancer is present, so he will be down to 4, which is okay, I guess. And then of course we will draw ourselves an event card. And here we have another horde. It's a small horde because of our secrecy of 4, and we can fight it for 4 or elude it with a 3. Because of my blood ring, I would be allowed to roll 2 dice. I think this is what I will do. I like rolling dice, so let's do that. We are looking for a 4 or more. Wow, again, what a poor roll. Even eluding would have sucked totally. Of course, the dice would roll differently. Yeah, everything else. No, I cannot use any bonuses. I want to keep my spark, of course. So yeah, I have to take that wound, or basically I have to spend 1 grace in order not to suffer a wound. So this brings the ranger down to 4 grace. As for my main action, I really have to think if I want to get rid of the Oblivion first or the Confusion here first. Because I'm really thinking to move the Crusader also here to the village in order to really make a difference. It's really important. And if they're both here, they would both lose, let's say, a power each turn. I think this is really right now the worst blight, I guess. So I guess, yeah, let's just fight the Oblivion first. I can still use my blood ring, +1 in fights. I need a 4 or more. I would be allowed to roll 2 dice anyway. Yep, that's the case. And I think I can get rid of my tactic grace token of the ranger. In the meantime, I used a normal fight. Yep, that's the case. So let's just roll the dice. So I will actively fight the Oblivion. This also means I have to lose 1 secrecy for that. I will do that off camera. And yeah, let's just roll the dice and hope for a 4 or more, because otherwise we would lose a turn. Awesome! This was a success. Perfect. This blight, the Oblivion, is out of the game for now. Awesome. Then it's the end of the turn, so we have to face the spies. We would lose an additional point of secrecy, and wow, things are getting very nasty right now. So I think the next thing I will do is to move the Crusader to the village here as well. Therefore he gains 1 secrecy, because moving or traveling really means you gain up to 5, the 1 point up to 5, which is a cool thing. He does not lose anything. He doesn't have to draw an event card or such, so he can immediately jump into the next turn. But unfortunately he will lose 1 secrecy because here of the spy, so he will stick to his 4 points of secrecy. I think I will continue with the ranger. He will lose another point of secrecy because of that bad dude here. So again, we have to draw an event card. And here we have the sloppy surge. Roll round die and take the highest. I'm not allowed to use my balance power because of this corruption blight here, which says no bonuses. So I'm only allowed to roll 1 die, and basically the only good thing that can happen is the 6 here, which would allow me to gain 1 secrecy, which really would be cool. Let's see, that's a 5. Okay, it says no effect, could have been worse. For his main action, I think the ranger will move back to the mountains, but therefore I guess he will use trek action, exhaust to travel, and then search. I think this sounds like a cool plan. Oops, we were at 2, that's for sure. Actually, his secrecy was at 1. I already accounted for the movement here, or the travel action, so he's now at 2. That's correct. He will then perform a search here, so we are looking for a 4 or more. Let's see. Wow, a 6. Awesome. That's really awesome. So he will be allowed to draw a map card. I think we will not use the map card he currently has. Nope. And here at the mountain range, we will find this. I think it's a forgotten shrine, and it seems my demo kit doesn't have those tokens, and of course I have those tokens in my first edition components. Unfortunately I don't have it with me, so I will just use this skull symbol here for the forgotten shrine, which would give you 2 grace if you spend it. So this would be the perfect item for the Crusader, that's for sure. And now the movement of the Crusader really sounds like a very bad idea, because he's all alone here. He can try to get rid of the tactics here, but he cannot use any bonuses. He doesn't have a spark. This was such a stupid idea. I lost a turn here basically. I hate this. Okay, yeah, I cannot help it. I have to draw an event for the Crusader. And here we have the Unsubtle Messenger. Lose one secrecy. We have to lose one more because we are present with the Necromancer. Yeah, that's the case. And we would have to draw a quest and roll one die to determine its location, then add a, or directly add a marker to it. Oh, that's nasty. And here we have Without a Trace. Something is stealing children from the local populace without leaving any witnesses. Track it to its lair, or you will lose the sympathy of the townsfolk. So we only need one success, basically. We have 5 turns, but we will add 1, so it's only 4 left. We have to elude it, worth a 6. Okay, every success is a success here, basically toward this quest card here, and when we complete it we get the Epiphany bonus, and if it expires all heroes lose 2 secrecy. Okay, let's roll where it goes. Again, let's use the gray die. Let's see, that's a 3. A 3 would mean, oh wow, this also goes down to the forest, so let's add it here as well. Let's add the timer on top of it. Let's get rid of the event card, and I think now it's even more important for the Crusader to move here, because he could really try to get rid of something here. So I think for his action he will simply move down here to the forest. He gains 1 secrecy, which brings him to 3, and this pretty much already ends his turn. There are no end of round effects, so we can directly jump into the turn of the Necromancer. Let's advance the darkness track. Let's add 1 and 2 timer tokens. This Angry Guardian is really kind of a problem. I have to think about this one. Theoretically, I could really do 1 or 2 of those quests in 1 turn. So for example, this combat item during your action phase. So if I would gain 1 treasure here at the forest, for example, I could then during the search really discard this item immediately in order to satisfy this Angry Guardian. Then all heroes would gain 1 grace, which would be a cool thing. But of course, right now it's still the turn of the Necromancer, so he's trying to find, yeah, us basically. The Ranger has a secrecy of 2, the Crusader 3. Let's see, that's a 2. He will not be able to find anyone. This means the Crusader will move from the village, which is a cool thing, down to the ruins, and will create a blight here. And here we see the Lich, which is also only a fighting skill. I think it's a pretty tough one as far as I can remember. Let's have a closer look on those guys. And yeah, they're definitely much tougher to fight with. So each turn or by the end of the round, you have to fight them some kind of, and you have to either roll a 5 or a 5 for eluding or fighting those. And if you want to attack them, you have to also target a 5 in order to get rid of them. Okay, I think I will wrap up here. And yeah, this was again a very tough 3 rounds here, and I have to say this really all goes back to the problem with playing this dual class variant. They have a lot of powers, which is a cool thing, but the overall pool of grace and secrecy is of course much lower. Normally you would have twice the amount of grace if you play a full 4-player game, though this could really break our neck here. But still, it's challenging. I'm really looking forward to it. I really hope I will be able to get rid of those quests down there, which would give me some grace back, and possibly also this Epiphany special bonus here. And here up at the mountain range, the Ranger could try to get rid of some of those, or try to search something, or maybe really moving back here to the village in order to fight confusion and or corruption. So rest assured, it will be a very tense little next episode of my playthrough of Darkest Night, and I still hope you are enjoying it, and hope to see you soon in one of my next videos. And until then, bye bye.